I'm with the Scripps network, so we have a lot of local stations around the country, and we do partnerships with regional sports, including the Pistons, and we also have national networks that have WNBA and NWSL. So honestly, this is the first time I've said it, a great year to be selling WNBA. So got lots of phone calls about that. So we are all really excited to talk about women in sports marketing today. And we know that we're keeping you from lunch, so we'll keep it as entertaining as possible and ask all the burning questions that you want to know. But this is a great panel, and thank you very much for joining us. So first of all, I just want to get to know the panel a little bit. We've gotten to know each other backstage in the green room, but as soon as I showed up, I thought, oh, I missed a fireside chat with you. And then somebody said, oh no, that's Emily. So tell us a little bit about that connection.
Yeah, so if you were here first thing this morning, my sister, Emily, is the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Brand for the Detroit Lions. And we are both from the area, from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, the Detroit area. So really, really excited to be here and repping our hometown.
Yes, that's great. Do you have a lot of family in sports?
Yeah, so in addition to us both working in the football world, which is funny, and sports too, my sister actually started with the Pistons originally, Alicia reminds me. My husband played in college, and my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, is a coach for the Titans. So it's all in the family, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So Alicia graduated from UM. Yay,
Go Blue.
Go Blue, exactly. And has worked for the Detroit Pistons for
22 whole years.
I'll let you do that. Alicia, have things changed in 22 years?
Oh, yeah. Listen, I'd say progress happens sometimes in small wins over a decades-long career, and then sometimes things happen with sweeping change, like what you're seeing in NCAA women's basketball, and they just undeniably push progress forward. So I've seen both of those things, small wins and then moments of incredible progress. I will say that when I started 22 years ago, the people in the seat that I sit in now did not look like me, were not from where I'm from. And so it's been incredible to sort of have a court-side seat, pun intended, to that change. And right now we have 50-50 women-men C-suite, which is incredible. 2 of the women, and we happen to be minority women as well. And it's just a different seat at the table and a different view than when I started 22 years ago.
Yeah, that's changed.
Awesome.
We've got another Michigan, actually all 4 of us are Michigan girls, so we're in the right place. But Nadine went to Wayne State and Mercy Law School and is currently a sports marketing agent at Valiant Management Group. Tell me, how many of your friends are female sports marketing agents?
None.
Kind of thought that might be the answer. So tell us a little bit what that's like, being sort of the only woman breaking through in this space right now.
You know, frankly, I am super fortunate to work in a male-dominated space that appreciates a woman like myself. My boss, Jared Wingler, and some of the guys that I work with at the agency are super appreciative of the work that I do, the unique perspective that I offer, and as you can see, I'm always put in positions by them and the rest of my colleagues to have a platform and speak on behalf of women in the industry, and it's been a pleasure so far. But I will say, sometimes when I enter other spaces, I am the only woman, like I was telling you ladies just a little bit ago, surrounded by men, and that can be challenging sometimes, but when you recognize and appreciate the unique perspective that a woman has to offer in this field, and you use that as leverage in what you're doing, you find yourself successful.
She's literally breaking glass ceilings. Good for you. Yes. So tell me, you guys, here's another curious sort of get to know you question. Did you play sports previously?
I did.
You did?
I did. As a kid in middle school and high school, I ran track. I dabbled a little in volleyball and tennis, but never took it through college.
Great. How about you?
Yeah, I played soccer all growing up, and including in college, and then always had aspirations to kick on the football team. So it's awesome to see that happening more and more these days.
For me, I don't know if the short limbs give it away, but I was a competitive gymnast my whole life, and then a two-sport athlete in high school. But again, I didn't grow much after that, so it ended there as well.
And when I was in college, I was president of the Model United Nations. So
Equally as great of an accomplishment, by the way.
thank you. That's kind. So another thing we had talked about when we got together to sort of pre-meet before this, I said right off the bat, I'm like, women in sports marketing, how cliche. But then we sort of started talking about it, and like, oh, especially your experience, Nadine. You know, it really is unique, and certainly, you know, we've all been in the industry for a while. Let's not show our age. And a lot of things have changed. Exactly, season, very good. So I did look up some stats about women who work in sports, in the sports industry. So you guys almost half of sports viewership is women, at least 44% across all of the sports. Women make up about 36% of sports industry employees. So a little bit way to go there. And then Sports Integrity Global Alliance said that women make up about 27% of the executive leadership. So honestly, I think you guys will admit 20 years ago that was probably, you know, had a 1 in front of that, you know, it was in the 10s or 15s. So certainly 27%, but more to go. So we've come a long way, but more to go. So a few questions for you, and Nadine, you kind of touched on this, but could you, all three of you, could you start though and tell us what it is about being a woman, like that's unique for your voice in your industry, and what do you think that brings to your position?
So in my role at Valiant, I'm mainly working with male athletes, mainly male football athletes, and oftentimes I'm working alongside other agents who are also men, and I find that in my representation I'm able to kind of embrace my femininity and embrace my inclination to nurture and, you know, speak on behalf of someone. And they're all younger than me, right? They're mostly student athletes, and so I use that female perspective of like things that we would pay attention to as women that men might not, especially in representation, right, or negotiation. I also recognize that some of my public speaking skills or my ability to relate to someone or, you know, grasp the emotions or motivations of someone that I'm speaking to helps me understand not only what the athlete is looking for and what type of work they're trying to do in the NIL space, but also what the brand is looking for. And oftentimes I'm met with marketing directors and creative direction staff at these companies that are women, which is really nice because I get to relate to them and we get to create a plan, and we're super organized. And that's another thing that I feel like I bring to the table as a woman is that level of organization and just structure that we offer. Not that men can't offer, but we do a little different.
I can speak for my husband only, but I know multitasking is not a strength of his. So.
And we do that very well.
Do you mind, Alicia? Could you tell us a little bit about the unique perspective you bring to the table as well?
Oh yeah, happy to do that. So I'll give a little caveat. Shout out to all the great dads out there and my husband before I say this, but I am the default parent in my household. So before 8 a.m., before I hit the doors of the office, I do a lot of shit. So I got 4 kids.
How many kids do you
I
have?
have 4 kids. So a lot of lunches to pack, backpacks, water bottles, do you have your sports equipment, all the things. And then I'm like, tell your dad goodbye for the day. No, I love him. It's fine, don't tell him.
I love him.
But what I found like later in my career is that it validated something for me that I feel like when I get to the office, it's kind of like this, whatever you got, you know, come my way. Like I really have done a lot today already. And I just feel like it prepares me for whatever drama comes my way in the office or issues that I need to tackle the day. Is, you know, I'm grounded in something else, which is my family. for sure. And so my perspective always goes back to that. I don't try to get worked up. But I also feel really validated. So I'm like, man, I'm really good at multitasking, to your point. Also, clearly I've given birth, so I feel like I have some personal fortitude, right? Like I had to like rally and go back to work after a few weeks after, humans came out. So I feel like women just have this sense to them that my male counterparts, unfortunately, are never going to experience.
Erin, I'm going to change the question a little bit for you, but what are some of the things you have done with your influence to sort of promote other women and lift them up? Particularly, you're in the helmet and sort of sports, definitely involved with football. So tell us a little bit about what you've been able to accomplish there.
Yeah, so I would echo all the things that have already been shared. But I think a couple of things. First of all, I'm proud that of our executive leadership, we have 3 women on our management team. So I think that's a testament to our Chief Executive Officer, Dan Arment, for prioritizing inclusivity as far as that team. I think at Riddell specifically, I think there needs to be a voice in the room when the product development team is coming up with new equipment and needing to consider that all anatomies and body types are not the same. Head shapes and sizes are different and so on. So making sure that as an emerging market, which women's tackle football is, that those groups of women are also being considered. And it's also been really inspiring to see just specifically the Women's National Football Conference, for those that are unfamiliar, are a women's pro league. And these are women that have day jobs, are parents, and go out at the evenings and play tackle football and get ready for a season. And so just knowing that they have a voice in the room that says, hey, not everyone playing football are men, and so make sure that we're keeping them in mind too when we're doing product development, I think is really important.
That's great, thank you. Nadine, you touched on this a little bit, but you said that your bosses have been very supportive and the company has been very supportive, and you as well. And we actually have a little video I'd love for you guys to see from the Detroit Pistons, if we could. Certainly, this wasn't the kind of thing you'd see 20 years ago, but definitely lifts this up right now.
Getting a job in sports was something that I never thought was possible.
I always thought that if I didn't play a sport or if I wasn't like super athletic, that working in sports wouldn't be like a space for me.
Historically, you haven't seen a lot of women in the same spotlighted roles in sports that you've seen men in. And so I think about a lot of young girls who maybe didn't see that representation and didn't view sports as a viable career option, whether that's on the court or the field or actually on the business side.
There is often that imposter syndrome that can come up where you think that you don't belong to represent women, and especially as a woman of color. I think it's really important to provide spaces for women.
It is crucial to amplify the voices of your peers and the other women around you.
To walk into a male-dominated industry and into a room that's mostly male, it is empowering.
You may have some obstacles that are thrown your way, but once you know that you have that village around you and you are empowered within yourself, you're going to have others that are believing in you as well.
Having women in sports brings a lot more diverse perspectives.
When it comes to catering to women who are sports fans, little girls who are sports fans, we are able to provide opportunities, ideas, and perspectives.
You look at the world a different way, that can offer something very valuable.
As a woman, it's so great to see across this organization women in so many different leadership roles.
Having women really pave the way and break that glass ceiling for everybody to come after us makes me feel like I matter. I have never once doubted since coming to the Pistons that I can't continue to grow my career here.
My journey started when mentors really gave me the ability to move forward as a strong woman in this industry. And now in my position, I love to lean into those around me and show the way for those who are coming along the journey as well.
I see women's sports management just exploding. I read an article where in South Korea, the viewership for men's basketball was actually 75% women. We're seeing more women interested in sports. I think pop culture is a big part of that. The WNBA is becoming even more and more popular as the years go on.
I think about Caitlin Clark just having a lot more moments like that where you're seeing women in the spotlight where maybe they historically weren't.
It's inspiring younger generations of girls to look into the future and say, hey, this is something I could possibly do.
It's time we talk about the
girls out there that absolutely love sports like I did when I was growing up, don't ever give up, dream big and go for it.
Be optimistic and open.
Be creative.
Be you, never stress it, have the confidence, and just go for it.
Did you guys see Alicia and Nadine there? Nice job. So tell us, Alicia, a little bit about how do you authentically connect with the Pistons community? Because certainly you've got young, old, families, women, men, so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so just a quick recap on the video is, guess what? Women play sports, we watch sports, we consume sports, we buy tickets, we spend money. So all you people out there who want to market us, I mean, we're a valuable commodity out here. So in terms of our communities, it was brought up a little bit in an earlier panel about how you authentically can connect with different communities. And so our task for our internal marketing team is really to build relationships, to build trust. And we build relationship and trust with the people in the community, the creators in the community, the cultural influencers in the community, to sort of guide us along the path to the right direction. Is anybody in the audience from Flint, Michigan? All right, Flint Town, let's go. Dean? Hey, Kevin. So it's one of those questions where you're like, are you really from Flint? Do you really understand what happens in the city that I'm from? We never want to be that person to say we're something that we're not. So we made sure that we really understand that we're coming from an authentic place. And then the other piece is demographics are so flat. So from like a data and insights standpoint, we use a ton of data to figure out who we need to talk to and how we need to talk to them. But we try to take that extra level with having the right people on our team who have gut instinct, who have the human element to gut check us, to pressure test our decisions. Are we actually talking to the right people? And some of that is literally just a feeling. When you step into a room and a space, do you feel like you're supposed to be there and you're saying the right thing? So demographics are great, insights are great, but for us from Pistons marketing, we take it to the next step. And if you don't do that, I feel like it's a miss.
Thank you. Nadine, we had this conversation briefly this morning, and I just want you to tell everybody what you told me this morning. Sort of what are you seeing the differences between the NIL deals with female athletes versus you represent mostly men athletes, but talk a little bit about that.
So I feel like I face a lot of success in the deals that I'm working on for the male athletes that I work with, and of course there are other agents in the agency who are representing a lot of the female athletes. I've yet to work with one on a one-on-one, but there is a constant conversation in the office about, you know, what are our female athletes, what opportunities are we presenting our female athletes with, and we realize that sometimes it's not a result of just our efforts, but it's also a result of how companies and big brands are viewing female athletes. And what I've realized is our most successful female athletes in the NIL space are the ones who are influencers. And so you see where brands and companies are assigning value to the athlete. If they're a male athlete, it depends on what their performance and dominance on the field or on the court is looking like. But for the women, it's looking like, who's doing get ready with me's in the morning? Who's sharing their skincare routine on TikTok? And those are the female athletes getting paid the most money and being presented with these opportunities. So it kind of is on us as their agents to step up and highlight their success on the court, on the field, whatever it is, and in addition to their capabilities on social media. And a part of me as an agent, now that I've become so familiar with the power of social media in the NIL space, you understand why influencers are valued so much by companies and brands likewise. But at the same time, I think, you know, an influencer is an influencer, but an athlete, you know, and I never played any sports to the extent that I'm like, you know, I had an insanely busy schedule and life was hard. But I know just from the guys that I work with that playing a sport in college is tough. It's a big commitment. You're going through school and you've got your family probably away from home. I mean, there's a lot going on in your life. And so I think it's important to highlight female success on the field and on the court equally as much as we celebrate their success, you know, on Instagram or TikTok.
Thank you for that. So we're getting close to time. This went by so fast. I have to mention this. Riddell's mission, Erin, is boldly champion the future of football. And I don't know if you guys have had to come up with a mission before, but it is not an easy task, and I just absolutely love that. And I'm going to end with the last question with you. How excited are you that the NFL draft is here in Detroit?
Yeah, super pumped. This is a tremendous amount of pride that I have for the city and coming off such a successful season that the Lions had. But really, as I think the folks from the NFL stated too, it's kind of a new beginning and new hope for the next season. So it's just really cool to see it all come together here. I was at the announcement with Commissioner Riddell and several dignitaries 2 years ago, and then to see it come full circle 2 years later and how the footprint has come together downtown is awesome. So I really hope the Lions keep their pick and we get to celebrate the pick and we go from there.
That's great. Thank you guys very much.